So, hi, welcome everybody. I'm Toby, working in Siemens. And before I start explaining you how our journey was, what we did with SNP Glue, going to cloud and so on and so forth, I would first of all like to give you a little bit of a personal introduction, which also connects to the topic itself. So I would like to tell you a story about my personal life. And the story is about how I proposed to my wife. Yeah, sounds strange, but I can already tell you it was a challenge. It wasn't easy. Yeah, and later on you will also realize why I'm telling that story. Yeah, so I had been together with my girlfriend around 10 years. So then I thought, yeah, 10 years going good. So maybe it is time now. I bought a ring, very classical. I planned, hey, what is a good timing? And we had already some plans to go to Cuba to vacation. And I said, hey, great timing, nice beaches. Let's do it. So I got the ring with me. We flew to Cuba. But actually, we had been all the time around with people, had a lot of fun and great time. But there was no really good and fitting time. So I said, okay, I also don't want to push this. I want to have a good moment. So I said, okay, let's do it later on. Flying back, I realized, I have a ring where I don't have an invoice for in my luggage. What happens if customs now checks me, my wife just sitting next to me? That would be an interesting proposal. Luckily, we hadn't been checked, but yeah. So first attempt didn't work out. Let's try second attempt. We are living in Munich, so I said, hey, I organized a nice day together for the two of us. Was really a nice day, everything perfect. We ended up in a nice park, just sitting there, where we also had been at the very beginning of our relationship. And I was mentally preparing, just was about to bring out the ring, and then she said, I'm having a headache. Can we go home, please? So second try, oh. Third try, again, vacation. We were flying to Ireland. I said, now this will happen, but I have to be careful not to put the ring too early in the suitcase, because we shared the suitcase for that journey so that she didn't find out. When commuting to the airport, I realized it's also not good to put it too late into the suitcase, because yeah, I simply forgot it. Long story short, fourth attempt in Rome, again, there it finally worked out. Sunset, very beautiful. She said yes, luckily. Yeah. So thanks. So it worked out. And maybe some of you can already imagine why I'm telling that story, how it is maybe connected, what I will tell you afterwards. If not, I will explain later in more detail. So let me first give you a short introduction about what Siemens is, what Siemens stands for, what we are trying to achieve. So we as Siemens, we want to support and help our customers, societies, economies to drive and accelerate their digital transformation. And we want to do this we are doing this in separate area, in the industry section, infrastructure, mobility, and last but not least in the healthcare section, always with a very important focus on doing it in a sustainable way. So sustainability is also very important for us. This now sounds a little bit unconcrete, so I would like to give you some more concrete examples on those four sections of industry, infrastructure, mobility, and healthcare. So just imagine, in the end, many of us are driving in cars which had been designed with Siemens software, which had been built in factories with a lot of Siemens industry automation technologies. And if it's an e-car, it is maybe already also charged using smart grid technologies from Siemens. Looking into infrastructure, we provide a lot of building technology components. So we ensure that you have that all the working environments in buildings like offices and so on and so forth are set up in a safe and healthy way. We look and concentrate a lot of resource efficiency, that we don't waste resources also in that building area. And we also combine the physical and digital workplace here. Then maybe also very clear for a lot of you, everything related to the train. So the train you're driving in, the rails which the train is driving on, plus also the software you're buying your tickets on, is in the end coming from Siemens. And last but not least, of course, the healthcare business, where our Siemens solution in the end helped to create drugs, life-saving treatments, and also a lot of medical diagnosis opportunities to help the people in the hospitals and so on. And in all of those 5 areas, we can support in the digital transformation. So looking into industries, there is still a lot of material waste we can save with, for example, our ideas or our solutions for the digital twin, that you first of all see how it works in a digital way and then can easily transform it without having too much prototypes. Same goes for infrastructure, where you can still save a lot of resources with the use of data intelligence, and AI. With the mobility sector, even if you keep the whole network system with optimizing all the trains, how they work together, when they are driving when, we can still use a lot of capacity which is not used yet. And last but not least, also in the healthcare section, we can make use of data and AI to make things easier to save lives. So Siemens overall is a very big company. We are more than 300,000 employees. We are operating in 200 countries, and we are having now a history of 175 years. Yeah? And I would now like to tell you a little bit about the data analytics and AI journey in Siemens, which is kind of my home turf. But don't be scared, I won't now start 175 years back. Yeah? I will rather start with the step we had been before. So looking into 2013, we created that at the time what we are calling the HANA data lake. So we have a lot of ERP systems scattered throughout the world. We brought it together in one view in a big HANA landscape. So this was a great achievement and opportunity for us to have one view in, at that time, 75 ERP systems to do data analytics and AI. As you can see, 2021, we had over 500 use cases working on that. But of course, we also said, hey, this also has some downsides. It was all on premise, so it took always quite some time to scale up, to balance resources, was always a challenge. So we decided we have to go the next step. And this is why I'm also here. I'm kind of representing the team behind this, what we are calling the Siemens Data Cloud, which is now our new offering for internal data and analytics use cases, with Snowflake as a core component, I would say. But for that, we of course needed to bring again all ERP data from, at that time, 75 systems into Snowflake. So we needed to find a solution. Hey, how can we do this? And this is where we looked into different vendors, but in the end we decided, and I will go into that also a little bit later in more detail, but in May we decided to go with SNP Glue to kind of bring all that data from our on-premise landscape into Snowflake, into our new future and cloud environment. From then on, it took around 7 months from us deciding, yes, we want to go with SNP Glue, until we would really say, hey, it was live. It had been a lot of back and forth. It was a challenge for us because we also had to learn how SNP Glue works. We had a lot of pressure internally, so we really said speed is the most important thing. We really speeded up. So this was, of course, a challenge. And yeah, I mean, also for SNP, it was a challenge because that volume was quite huge. So it was a joint journey. We also took several attempts, but in the end, it also worked out. So in February, we connected all our ERP systems. Why it's now only 55. In between, we carved out our Siemens Energy business. So that's the reason for that separation. And then as a consequence, we are now saying for the future that we ramp out our legacy solutions, so our HANA data lake, which we will reduce in January next year and completely ramp down in September. So how does a very, very simplified architecture look like? In the end, we have all our ERP systems scattered throughout the world. We connect it via SAP SLT. So really getting change data capture, so delta information from the log files from the ERP system, bring it from there in the past into our SAP HANA data lake. That was not too complicated because it had all been SAP components. And based on that, we create a lot of use cases and visualize them in Qlik, Power BI, put AI machine learning tools on that, and so on and so forth. So basically, what we needed to do is we said, first of all, we want to keep SLT as a solution to extract all that change data capture information from the ERP systems, but we needed to bring in a tool that allows us to bring that from our on-premise in our Siemens network safe environment into a cloud like Snowflake. And therefore, we are using now SNP Glue. Before we decided that, of course, we had several challenges where we said, okay, can that work? How will that work? So this is a short overview about various challenges. Of course, first of all, we needed to have a mature solution. So we, as you have seen the volume about more than 50 ERP systems, we needed to have a setup we can rely on. Yeah, I mean, Siemens is quite a big company. So we also needed a partner that can handle that amount of data, has a stable and secure solution we can completely rely on. It also has to be a safe setup because we are talking about, in the end, confidential data of our company, which is very valuable. So we need to ensure that not any intruders can get access to the data. And with that, yeah, we risk our internal values. As I said before, it was a quite huge volume. I will also show you some KPIs later. So we needed to have a solution that really can handle that volume. And I would say the most important topic in the end was performance, because from our legacy solution via SAP SLT and in the HANA, our customers had been used to a certain level of performance and latency. So they had been used at roughly 15 minutes after a record was done in an ERP system. It is visible for data analytics in our platform. And obviously, if we would deviate to a huge extent from that perspective, we could never convince them to migrate from a HANA setup to the Snowflake environment. And of course, last but not least, that's always clear. It always has to be a reasonable price. Yeah, I mean, that's just normal. And in the end, we looked into different vendors. Yeah, so here you see vendors we looked into, like BigQuery. We looked into Fivetrain, HVR, Link IT, Qlik Replicate, and we also created our own Siemens solution. That maybe sounds a little bit strange, but we really desperately needed to have a solution that is working. Our own Siemens solution was also working in the end, but it was very, very expensive. So we said, hey, if we do that, we have so much costs related to that. That's also not the right way forward. And in general, we as Siemens are also saying we should not try to think that we do all things best, but we should try to partner up with good companies we can rely on where they have their core competencies. So in the end, combining all those different challenges we have, we realized that SNP Glue is definitely the best solution for our specific setup that can handle that amount of data, that can do it in a secure manner. It has a good maturity state, and it can also handle the performance, and the costs are also acceptable. Yeah? So, as I said before, it was a journey for SNP and for us jointly together, and of course we had some lessons learned from that experience. So, one thing which was really critical for us was close collaboration. At the high peak of trying to make it work together. We had, I think, daily calls together with our experts, our technicians, SNP Glue experts, really sitting together each and every day and looking into, hey, how is it going? What can we improve? Who needs to do what? And that also means we had a very agile approach. So we were just saying, okay, each and every day, what should we focus now, and not start with kind of a big project plan that we anyway would throw out of the window after some days or weeks. Yeah. I mean, it took also a lot of, I call it here, focus and dedication. So you can imagine with having a lot of pressure from our management to make that happen and make that a success. Everyone was doing extra hours, really night shifts, focusing on making that work. And in the end, I would say what I mentioned here with complexity increments, we realized that we several times thought, hey, now everything is stable, everything is working, but we scaled then too fast. So we said, yeah, it works. So let's ingest all our 55 systems. And obviously this was not the best approach, because then we realized, most likely sometimes too late, that some things hadn't been perfect yet. We had been maybe missing some data for various reasons. So we said in the end, it was really great to have such a great speed at the POC together with SNP, and they supported us very, very well in kind of sending us bug fixes overnight, putting it in, enhancing their solution, because the solution was working fine, but they also didn't have that experience with that amount of data we were having. So it was a joint learning session. So at a certain time, I would say most likely we stepped a little bit too late out of the POC mode into a more stable mode. But once we realized, we said, okay, we now have to ensure that even if we push you SNP guys, please tell us no. We follow all processes, we ensure proper testing and all those things. Yeah. If someone's pushing too hard, let me know. I will take care of that. That we can really ensure that we rather take 1 or 2 more weeks or 3 or 4 more weeks, but then it works out. And I think this was also key of our joint success, that in the end, around Christmas last year, we had a stable solution. It was working. We tested this with 1 or 2 systems, and then we could really scale that up. Yeah? And it took us roughly 8 weeks until really initial loading all ERP systems, bringing in all data. So you can imagine we also had quite an interesting Christmas and New Year's time. Yeah, so there was also a challenge, but it was good and interesting, I would say. And if you think about my internal or my initial introduction, so also this took several attempts until it really, really worked out in a good and stable mode, but in the end it worked out and everything is good now. Yeah. So giving you some KPIs, because everyone likes KPIs, I would say. Yeah. So as I said, we have 55 systems connected. It is R3 a lot, but we also have some S4 systems. We have BW systems connected. We are replicating around 40,000 tables. And out of them, roughly 12,000 tables are having daily changes. And we are processing with SNP Glue 1.7 billion changes a day as an average. Yeah, of course, weekends are lower, as you can imagine. And our latency is very good, I would say. It deviates a little bit. Why is that big deviation between 1 minute and 30 minutes? It is related to the fact that we are saying for different demands and different tables, we are applying different modes of providing the data. So for tables which are really critical to have like a few minutes, we just provide them as views to our end customers. With that, we are much faster, but they have obviously less performance with getting data from views instead of persistent tables. So for other tables, we are saying, hey, we really persist the data, and obviously there it's a balance of performance, latency, and money, because the more often we merge the CDC information into really replicated tables, each time we are paying money, we are paying Snowflake credits. So therefore we have to balance that. So this explains the big variety. So As you also see, we are working with Snowflakes. Only for this, we have always 50 to 60 Snowflake warehouses running, different size, different ways. We also have good ways how we can automatically bring them up and down. And yeah, meanwhile, if you remember in our legacy, we had 500 projects. Now we have 700 projects already. And we are still not there yet. So we still have things where we want to move on, where we want to go next. So first of all, obviously, we need to finish our HANA migration. So going from HANA to Snowflake, it is more than 500 projects. We have to all bring them from HANA to Snowflake. Plus, also, we want to enhance also the whole ERP ingest setup with better monitoring, so AI-based monitoring, for example. But that's not all. In the end, also Siemens is doing, apart from the data analytics part I'm coming from, a whole migration and transformation of our whole ERP landscape. I mean, it's 55 systems. This is also nothing where we want to continue with. So there's a huge program that wants to bring them more together, to merge them, to reduce the amount, and obviously also bring them to the cloud, bring them to S4. So you can imagine what kind of a big project that is. And we also don't want to only bring in the end raw tables from the ERP systems. We are also looking into, hey, can't we bring CDS views in where SNP Glue also might help? So, like to sum it up. For us, it was a journey. It worked out in the end. It took several attempts, like it took also for me several attempts to propose to my then girlfriend, now wife, but both stories in the end worked out fine. So yeah, and with that, I would just say I would like to very much thank all our colleagues internally, all the colleagues from SNP who spent night shifts, extra hours to make that happen. I would say it was a great success in the end, and yeah, I'm also looking forward to see what will come next. So therefore, yeah, thanks everyone.